When I bet, I like getting something back, win or lose. That's why we're excited to announce our new partnership with Fanatics Sportsbook. It's the only sportsbook that gives you fan cash when you bet, win or lose. Use fan cash on all Knicks, NBA, or other fan gear, as well as bonus bets, collectibles, and more. It's the most rewarding place for fans to place their bets. Download the Fanatics Sportsbook app now and let the fan cash flow. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut residents, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts residents, call 800-327-5050. New York residents, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland residents, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Knicks Film School pregame show. My name is Andrew Claudio, a.k.a. GMAC. Man, oh man, did I not think that we'd be here when I last did a pregame pod a week and a half ago. We did an exit interview for the Pistons series. The plan was always going to be do an exit interview for the Celtics series as well. I will follow, and I guess just hands up, this is on me. I will follow in a lot of the footsteps of many people that have admitted they were wrong about this Knicks team, because I got this series wrong. I even made a joke at the beginning of the pregame pod for the Celtics series that if you were believing that this Knicks team has an Eli Manning like New York Giants running them, and they're going to dethrone the champs and defeat the Patriots, this is not the series for you. Well, look what world we've found ourselves in. Now, obviously, some context is needed, but the New York Knicks will be headed to the Eastern Conference Finals to begin on Wednesday against the Indiana Pacers. For the first time, the Knicks will be in the conference finals since the year 2000, where they also played the Indiana Pacers. So old habits die hard. We need to officially close the book on the Boston Celtics series, and what better way to do it than welcoming back my very good friend from many a Celtic outlet, from How About Them Celtics, How About Them C's. I always get this wrong. Is it Hardwood Houdini or Houdini Hardwood?
Hardwood Houdini.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Hondo. Jack Simone, welcome back to Knicks Film School. You. I assume my confusion or my lack of is this real going on right now can only be surpassed by your confusion that the Boston Celtics season ended at least a round or two earlier than you probably thought it would.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, I think it was almost like, in hindsight, it feels almost like inevitable with like just how many people were like, oh yeah, 4, 5, maybe. And so like you said it at the front, you're like, context is needed. I disagree. Knicks just beat the Celtics. Like, the context is not needed. They were the better basketball team. I remember like, and I just want to make this clear at the very start, because I can only assume with the amount of Knicks and 6 chants I heard, and the, you know, can you swear on here? Or can
yes.
I swear? I can. Mm-hmm. The amount of "fuck you, Boston" chants I heard at MSG last night, as we're talking about this.
That's my alarm going off to remind me again that the Knicks defeated the Boston Celtics. I remind myself once a day just to be like, "This really happened, Andrew. Don't like this is real life." Go ahead, Jack.
I need to be clear, because I can only assume this comments would be filled of, "Oh, look at this Boston guy." There is no like excuses. Like, we're probably gonna talk about what went wrong for the Celtics, blah blah blah. Like, I don't want any of this to be misinterpreted as, oh, they only lost because of this. The Knicks kicked their ass, point blank period. They were the better basketball team. I remember texting you after game 2, and you're like, I don't know. I'm like, they've been a better team. It doesn't matter for 2 minutes or 1 minute. They're 2-0. They're the better team. Like, that's how it is. And shit, man, 4-2. They're the better basketball team. Like, that is what happened. The Celtics didn't adjust quick enough to Tibbs going double bigs. They didn't adjust quick enough to them, you know, abandoning drop defense and playing switch and doing that and putting ball. Like, they won fair and square. There's no context. There's no nothing. The Knicks were the better basketball team, and props to them. And listen, much to my podcast co-host Sam's dismay, I really like this Knicks team. Like, this is a sick team, man. Like, I like all the people. I love Brunson. He's cool. Josh Hart's awesome. Cat's fun. Like, I have nothing against this Knicks team. I don't. Unfortunately, I also really like the Pacers, so I don't know who exactly I'll be rooting for. But my thing is, I want whoever comes out of the East to win the title. I don't care who it is. I just want that's my now like goal. That's what I want to happen.
There's Eastern Conference bias. I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's like East. I gotta be honest. I wasn't rooting for the Pacers against the Celtics last year. I was kind of rooting for the Mavericks, even though there was some
Sure.
There's a guy on that team I don't necessarily love. And then, I look, first of all, hi, Sam. Whenever he sees this, he told me that it was me and Tyler Kolek are the only people he's happy for. And I appreciate that. I also harassed him in the comments of First to the Floor. And thankfully, I wasn't banned because Jake was in his bag after the Tatum injury, just banning any Knicks fan that showed up to the live chat. So thank you. And
did Sam stand up for you? He's like, no, that one's cool.
I would have appreciated if just the words Knicks Film School would have been said once, because Sam was like, oh yeah, Andrew's good people. He's okay. It's like, yeah, you had someone from Knicks Film School on the show before the series, but it's okay. Regardless, I think that the fact that I've been able to make nice with Celtics Nation has been a weird development at the end of this series. But look, man, I agree with you. The Knicks clearly won this series. There's nothing to be taken away from the way they won it, how they won it. Tatum injury aside, the percentage of minutes they were trailing or whatever, don't
matter.
The final score is what matters at the end of the day. And it's how I will just say it as much as a 4-2 series win is a 4-2 series win, this is one of the more confusing 4-2 series wins that I've ever encountered.
Yeah.
And I've talked to you a little offline about this, how not ready for the offseason I was, but resigned to the fact that the offseason was coming in 4 or 5
I wasn't
games.
ready.
Well, okay. So apologies that you're now headed to the offseason. And then we'll talk about that, the Celtics, in a second. But I was at a watch party and we were sitting there the first half of game 1 and we're talking about Tibbs replacements. And we're sitting there in the third quarter and it's like, oh, well, the switch scheme is working and they're cutting into this lead. And then they get it down to 14 and they get it down to 10. And it's why Tom Thibodeau just, for all the talk of what issues and nitpicks have happened with him this season, I don't think he had a great regular season. But I said this right before the playoffs began. I when they went all in, I said I will choose to judge Tibbs by his playoff performance. And you snuck your way through a Piston series that I think kind of iron sharpens iron. It sharpened your team a little bit, and when you needed to be sharpened after a regular season, when you try to kind of finesse your way to 51 wins. And they showed up for the Celtics just kind of ready for war. And I don't think the Celtics were ready for this version of the Knicks that suddenly showed up. And it's like, bro, we just went through 6 12-round fights where the refs didn't know that they had whistles around their necks. And the game 1 and 2, I think, it was wait, look, there's clips of me out there and my reaction. We're I'm just standing wait, we're up 2-0. I didn't expect us to win either of these games for most of the game, and we're up 2-0. Was there a similar confusion for you? The Celtics have played better through the first 2 games, except for the end of the game. And how are the Celtics down 2-0? And I'll even add another caveat before we get to game 4, especially when you factor in how game 3 went. The confusion that this is a Celtics team down 2-1 in the series with how the first 3 games have gone.
For sure. I mean, game 1 was what game 1 was, right? Can't happen. It shouldn't happen. It was ridiculous. I did a whole video on it talking about how everyone's going to look at a million missed threes, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But they gave up a bunch of transition buckets. Their off-ball defense was terrible. And they lost the margins, right? That was the game. They lost offensive rebounds in the closing moments. They didn't close out possessions and didn't put enough pressure in the right spots on the other end. That was the game. And you're all right, whatever. That happened. It is what it is. And again, this isn't to take away from what the Knicks did at all, but Celtics missed a million open threes. They did. That's just what happened. They should have made and normally would have. And then game 2 comes along and that's where up on the 9th floor media where some of us sit, we were just sitting there what? It happened again? They did that again? That was where it was one time is not, you don't get a pass for it because it's not okay, but it happened, learn from it. That's ridiculous. 2 times was something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong with what is happening right now. And I said this on a podcast and I got a haha laughing reaction, but I still believe it. Game 2 went wrong because and there's obviously a deeper answer, but like they passed up too many threes. Like they got in their own heads is what I'm saying. Like all of the threes that everyone's like, oh, these idiots, look at them shoot all these threes. Jason Tatum opened the game by passing up an open three and kicking it to Drew Holiday, who was like half running to back. Like that's when I saw that. I was like, oh, they're toast. They're like mentally like broken right now. I don't know what's happening. And I don't think it's fair to like, I don't think it's fair to say like mentally broken or whatever. Like I truly just think like the reason that they lost the series is because they didn't adjust quick enough to some of the things the Knicks did. I think they were caught a little bit off guard. And by the time you collapse the way you did in those first two games, it's kind of just like a free for all, and they didn't recover from the free for all. A free for all and a free fall, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't pick my wording, but after those two games, it was kind of like, oh shit, like they're down 2-0, but it was also like, how the hell did it happen again? Like that, that was kind of what the feeling was. It was like, there's no way it could happen again. Oh my God, it's happening again. What the fuck? Like that was the trade process they go through the head.
Jack, I didn't think it could happen the first time, and I also didn't think it could happen again. But because again, that just highlights and even further emphasizes the point I'm making. Like, it's not a sustainable playoff series model to like go down 20 and come back and hopefully collapse. Like that's just not, which is why when game 3 happened and they're down 30 in the third quarter and everyone is joking around at our watch party. All right, we got them right where we want them. It's like, eventually they're going to have to play with a lead, you know, which is why game 4 eventually. Well, obviously, dude, the fact they won the margin in this series by 3 points and they won game 6 by 100 is the craziest outcome of this series. They actually were able to outscore the Celtics in this series. But like, I think that's where it goes to the first two. And I have to include game 3 in this because I think the Knicks played similarly in all 3 of those games. The end of all 3 just went differently.
Celtics made their threes.
Right. The Celtics made more threes in game 3. Exactly. So look, again, you can't take away from it. It's why like Tibbs deserves so much credit for those first 2 games. Look, the reason we're recording when we're recording, I'll just look behind the scenes. We're recording after midnight on Saturday into Sunday. And you went out with some friends. I promised the wife a movie night. It was not even going out to a movie. It's like, I will watch something with you that isn't basketball because I disappeared. I'm going to disappear even more now that they're in the conference finals. And we watched the old Star Wars, like the first A New Hope. And like, they kind of this scheme that Tibbs revamped the entire defense. He kind of Jedi mind tricked the Celtics away from their heavy ball movement into isolation. Mazzulla is just like, I must foul Mitchell Robinson just to get him out of the game in game 2. And it's like, so he can put OG Anunoby back in.
That's how down bad they were. Yeah.
Hold on, OG. Let him foul one more time so I get him in the bonus. So that way, when Brunson goes for a foul at the end of the game, or Brunson goes and drives on Drew Holiday, they don't have any to give. That like the Jedi mind trick going on. Like Tibbs literally used the force. Now the players played and they executed the scheme throughout the first 4 games, but it was incredible to watch in real time. I gotta say, it's crazy. Like that just made me think of something. So my very first question I asked Joe Mazzulla the whole playoff run, like before the Magic series, like their first press conference they had pre-postseason, I basically asked like, what goes into the process of making adjustments for certain teams that you've played in the playoffs? Like what goes into the adjustments? And he like stopped me mid-sentence and did a classic Joe. He's like, it's a funny word there, adjustments. I was like, what do you mean? Like, what bit are you running here? And he like the essence of what he said was like, we have all of this data on a team. Like there's only so much that they can do to change. Like we basically know what the team is. Wrong. Psych, bro. Like, hello. And obviously not. I don't have to tell you this, but the Patriots Rams Super Bowl where Belichick suddenly showed up and they were playing zone is it's not the same stakes, obviously, but the Patriots hadn't played a down a zone all season on defense. And that was the Sean McVay Rams team that like was still at Jared Goff, and they were one of the high powered offenses.
Nasty Super Bowl.
And 13-3 being the final, but like you held that team to 3 points in 4 quarters. And you know that the documentary that wasn't kind to Belichick until that last episode.
Tibbs did that.
Like that, it's a similar thing
exactly
where
what happened.
The Knicks barely played drop. I don't know. They played drop at the beginning of the third quarter of a couple games. And it was like, why?
They played more drop in game 5 when Tatum got hurt.
Right.
And I said after the game, I'm like, why the hell did they do that? Like,
well, the pace almost was forcing them to, because they weren't able to load up anymore.
Yeah, I guess it was a little harder because Celtics did get out in transition, but like,
and there's no Tatum to bait into a switch.
Yeah,
scheme,
but even exactly though, but like just guard Jaylen Brown the same way. And if Tatum, isn't as good in those situations, like I love Jaylen Brown, and we can talk about the summer and everything going on, but like, dude, like just guard him the same way, you're probably gonna be okay. And then they went back to doing kind of what they were doing in Game 6, and ta-da!
Yeah, I will say, Jaylen Brown played outstanding in Game 5. I know Game 6 is fresh. It changed my
outlook of post Achilles Celtics. Like that one game was like, oh,
him going like 26 and 12. The playmaking he was doing in Game 5, and honestly, just like how bad the Knicks were. Like they also like the play better button needed to be hit, and my goodness, did they play better in Game 6? I've danced around Game 4 and talking about it because I understand it's bigger than just the Knicks took a 3-1 lead.
Yes.
It is a history altering day for the Celtics franchise with Jason Tatum's injury.
Yeah.
So there's two parts of this. You were in the locker room. You were in the garden.
I was I don't have locker room access just yet, but I was in the building.
You were in the building, but you did get a sense of how the mood in the Boston Celtics locker room was for after Game 4, and how they were all processing what had just happened on the court, not from the sense of what happened to the Celtics, but what happened to Tatum. So there's two places I want to take this. Let's start with your perspective. And if you could just tell the Knicks Film School listeners what it was like to be, in the media section with, a close vantage point of how how this team was processing that Jason Tatum hadn't been confirmed, but I think we all knew.
Yeah.
I think they all knew, but like that he had just gone down the way that he did.
Yeah. So our media seats are like way up top, just going back to like when it actually happened. So we're like in the, what's it called? It's like the halo, like the ring around
the bridge.
Like the 300s, the bridge. Yeah. We're up there. And so I see it happen, and I see Tatum go down, and he's holding his lower leg, and I'm like, oh, he sprained his ankle. He sprained his ankle back in March. He was back in the game. Like, that sucks, but whatever. And I see him twirling around, and Joe Mazzulla is not calling timeout because of course he's not. And like they wait, and Joe Mazzulla calls a timeout, and then I see the trainers immediately run over. I'm like, oh, wait a second. And I heard someone like say like non-contact. I was like, what? I was like, it was what? And when he like limped off, and apparently Noah Dalzell, who also covers Celtics, was like, when I saw Nick Sang, who was like Tatum's personal trainer, like when I saw his face, it was like he saw ghosts, and that's when I knew it. So like that was a thing. And then the wheelchair, obviously, which they shouldn't show that, but it is what it is. Like in general in sports, showing that is, I feel like, a little messed up. But we get back to like downstairs, and also just for another like more context, like the Knicks won that game regardless of the Tatum injury. Like that's obviously not an excuse to win, but this is just like how it happened and what happened and the vibe and everything. You get back to the press conference room. I don't have locker room access, like I said, but it starts with Joe, and Joe's up there, and Joe's pretty good at like hiding his emotions and being stone faced. Derek White got up to the podium, and he's also usually pretty monotone. You could tell he was like it was a very sullen mood. And then Jaylen Brown gets up there, and obviously Jaylen Brown fumbled the pass, and it led to like whatever. People blaming Jaylen Brown are ridiculous, but that's what happened. And he looked and sounded like he was about to cry. And it was rough, man. Like from reports I heard in the locker room, like from people talking to me and me, like just chatting, it was like a funeral. Like it was so bad. It was like everyone knew that this team, the Celtics organization, the franchise, the future of everything just changed in like a second. Like in a snap, it's different forever. And it was brutal. And like, we have to ask them questions. Like we have to ask them like this stuff. And I can only imagine how difficult what they're processing is, because like, obviously it's a basketball game, but like, this is somebody that they're like unbelievably close friends with. And so I asked like Derek and Jaylen, like, you guys have a season deciding game to focus on in 48 hours, but your, friend just injured himself in the point where he's not going to play basketball for a year, and he's obviously like going to deal with a lot of stuff. Like, how do you process that? And Derek White looked at me, he's just like, just got to do it, or something like that. Just got to do it. And Jaylen was like, you take the night and just do it. Like, it was just so unbelievably sad. Like it was bad. And at that point, it was kind of like, oh, they'll win game 5 for Tatum. And then whatever happens after that happens. Like, I think that was kind of the vibe a lot of people I talked to had, like, oh, they'll win game 5 for Tatum because, like, they can make shots if they do and blah, blah, blah. And then after that, we'll see what happens. And obviously we saw what happened, but it was truly the most depressing environment I've ever been in my X amount of years covering the team.
Yeah. I had a similar, like, from my fan perspective on YouTube in New York, you know, like, I had a similar reaction in the sense of, obviously not as, I don't have an intimate relationship with Jason Tatum, but you're in the heat of battle. You're watching the Knicks play the Celtics. They're playing well the way they played in that second half. And I agree with you. They were that steal by Anunoby put them up 9 with 3 minutes left. So I was comfortable with how the game was going, that they were going to find a way to close this thing out. When you realize what it was and the no contact injury, look, the point about the wheelchair, that at least put into perspective for me, not that he was in a wheelchair, but seeing him, like, he knew something happened that was significant. And
Tatum always gets up. And
so that's the part that I think is what's blowing my mind here, is that this is more than just a like Jalen Brunson broke his hand during Game 7 against the Pacers. Josh Hart pulled an ab muscle, I think,
Jaylen Brown was playing on a partially torn minutes.
Right. Like, Anunoby had a hamstring injury during the playoffs last year. Like during the playoffs, you get bumps and bruises and maybe you miss a game or two. The significance of, oh no, like, it's not just that he's done for the game, it's he's done for the series and probably next year too. And like quantifying it outside of the Knicks perspective, like, obviously as a Knicks person, I'm supposed to be excited. The Knicks are up 3-1. That's sad what happened. And I'm just like, I compared it on game theory to the Will Smith incident at the Oscars. It's like a weird comp, but nobody cared about the awards after that happened.
Yes.
Like, that became the night that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Yes. And like, this is much more tragic, to be honest, because no one went and slapped Jason Tatum. Like, this was a freak injury that happened. And the human side of me, I think a lot of Knicks fans, it took over, and it didn't damper any Game 4 excitement. It just put into context, like, our story here in New York and our bubble is a Game 4 win. The bigger story in the NBA is his injury, and it's why the other part of this I want to ask you about, Jack. It's a bit of a take. I put out there that I believe this is the biggest playoff loss in Celtics history. And here's what I mean. It's not in weight of gravity. They've lost finals before, right? They've been upset. Like, the Miami Heat probably is a worse upset because they were a 1 seed. They that was an 8 seed. I don't know what the Heat were, right? In terms of quantity, like, you didn't just lose a series, but you lost your chance to defend the title. You lost Jason Tatum for the following season. And now the run probably ends because of all of this, that the amount, if you add up all the things that are now going to be lost as a result of losing this series, I'll just throw the cherry on top from an emotional standpoint. Boston losing to New York probably sucks to any person in New England at the moment. So all of that quantified, what do you say to that take, that this is probably the most Boston has ever lost in a single playoff series?
Lost in general, this is certainly up there. I mean, I saw, this is so silly, I saw like a TikTok that was like top 5 most devastating sports moments in Boston, and I'm reading them, I'm like, this is it wasn't like all injuries. It was like the Mookie Betts trade. It was like losing. It was like the Bruins blowing some playoff series, blah blah blah. The Pats, Giants, obviously, and then like Tatum injury, and just like when you consider the fact that not only did they lose a playoff series, they were universally favored. I don't even think you would have struggled to find 5 out of 100 Knicks fans that had the Knicks winning series. Like, that is how favored they were. Exactly. Point case. Like, combine that with, you just not only lost Jason Tatum for a year of basketball at 27 years old, by the way. This, like, everyone's comparing this to other ACL injuries. It was 27. KD was like 32 when he had his ACL, which one bodes well for Tatum's recovery.
I don't mean to correct you on the correct terminology or to remind you, but yeah.
Please do. Bobby Manning said ACL the other day, and I think he infected me. Ruptured Achilles. I've been saying torn Achilles. It's ruptured Achilles. I hate that I have to know these terms. Ruptured Achilles. Now that you lose Tatum to a year for that, but also like in a lot of people's heads, the plan this summer, like even if they had won the title this summer, there was going to be a trade because second apron team, it would be their third year. If they did it again next year, that's just not sustainable. What Grosbeck said, I predict for the next 40 years, no team will be in the second apron for more than 2 years. You told on yourself, bro. Like I think I said this to you before. Like obviously there's going to be moves. Now you run into the problem of you could have had the plan to trade one of your big contracts this summer, compete again, then trade another big contract next summer. There is no compete again next year now, right? Could you compete in the playoffs? Could you make a conference finals run? I still believe they can. They keep Jaylen Brown. They keep their pieces. I still think they're good enough in a relatively weak Eastern Conference, just comparatively, right? Like I think they could have the talent. Yeah. Exactly. Competing for a championship without Jason Tatum is almost impossible. You need a top 10 player, top 5 player in the NBA to compete for a title. Usually, like by and large, you just do. And without that, like you don't really have like, do you bother keeping everyone's throwing around Drew and Kristaps? Like, do you bother keeping them both? You just get it out of the way and trade them both now. And so you have an extra year of retooling and figuring stuff out, like probably. And that also means the end of something that started 2 years ago and won a championship and the end of this group of people. And do you trade, Hauser now? What do you get back for those guys? Trade Jalen? I think no, but like people are going to say that now. Like it is completely changed the scope of Celtics history. Like in 1 second. And so when you put all that together, like, yeah, it probably is the most devastating loss, including that injury, if that is a factor, at least that I can, can remember, because no other losses come with bigger stakes.
And it's not the most disappointing loss. Like that's why I'm trying to describe it correctly. They've just from a sports historian, like obviously but like the conversations that I've been seeing that this is up there with like the Bill Buckner ground ball, right? Like this, as far as like devastation, sure. I'm just going to the quantity of things that were lost by the Celtics. Yes. And I didn't even mention when I gave you the full take. Oh yeah, they were like minus 850 at the beginning of the series, had already blown 2 20-point leads in game 1 and 2. And by game 4, you're down 3-1 and you've lost Tatum. Yeah, man, their offseason becomes very fascinating. I think it's the most fascinating offseason in the NBA
in the league
of any other team.
Giannis, maybe Bucks.
So I think
at least you know the direction the Bucks are going to go in. Yeah,
but I think it's a trickle down. Like obviously, what happened to Dame, like changes things. But because of now what's happened to Tatum, Giannis might just look at the Eastern Conference. The West just got the 1 and the 2 pick in the lottery. So like the West is only going to get better. If I'm Giannis, there's no Celtics, and it's like, well, so we retool a little bit, and well, okay, that would be an interesting wrinkle of him to look. I was already confused how the Knicks were going to get Giannis, and many a Knick fan and commenters were like, "Oh, just trade Cat for Giannis." It's like, sure, totally, fantasy baseball, whatever. Now that the Knicks are in the conference, well, see, you know what? You're right. Luka got traded to the Lakers. I can't call any trade crazy. You're right. It can happen because the crazier things have happened. And then they got the 1 pick. So maybe Nico knew what he was doing all along. I continue to look at this Celtics offseason as now the most fascinating one because of the trickle down effect it has on every other offseason. It's fascinating though that you went into this series warning me about Porzingis. Took about 2 games before I knew what you were talking about. I didn't realize that so I got to be honest, this is my own ignorance. Apparently the last time I had seen him play against the Knicks, he had 8 threes at the Garden. And it was like, oh, so that's what's waiting for us in the second round. Great.
No.
And then by game 2, it's like, oh, there's something up with him. Like his burst isn't there. They're attacking. Like Josh Hart is attacking. Josh Hart has one move at the rim, left to right. Like he just goes from his left to his right, puts up a layup, and he attacked Kristaps constantly. Cooked. And I'm struggling to fully analyze him because clearly something happened to him internally, medically, right? That he wasn't
He's sick for sure.
But like the what is the even more fascinating that we just don't know what it is, but he's still playing basketball with it.
He doesn't know what it is. Like, I still don't think they know. Like, he knows what he has said to reporters. I still don't know what it is. And could he be lying? Sure. Yeah, right. He could be lying. And we'll probably find out in the next X amount of days or so. He also said he's going to play basketball with Latvia at Eurobasket. So Celtics fans are really thrilled that that's going to be a thing after how he played.
How?
Good question. He couldn't play in the playoffs.
He clearly hampered human, and
something's wrong.
So that's that's the thing. A healthy Porzingis, I think this is still like we might still be playing, to be honest, like preparing for Game 7. But him being taken, that chess piece being taken off the board at the end of Game 2 was when I started to actually think, oh, like the Knicks might have a chance in this series. I know how I'm saying they were up 2-0 after winning 2 road games. Yeah. And down like maybe
you were not confident after 2 games.
Dude, that's why Game 3 was so restabilizing for me. Game was I can be totally honest, wasn't disheartening at all. It was it was reassuring. I was like, oh duh, this is how the series is supposed to go. Game 4 was when I started to think, oh my gosh, they might actually go to the conference finals. And then obviously human nature, seeing Tatum go down. Obviously, I was from a basketball standpoint, like other chances now exponentially went higher. But yeah, it's not a sustainable plan. Go down 20 and come back in the fourth quarter. And that's how they won 2 of the games. When you actually outplay a team for a half and hit shots and run an offense, then I start to believe in you. Then you add in like what's going on with Jaylen Brown, Al Horford looking his age, Drew Holiday looking a bit older, and what happened to Porzingis, and you start to see some of the chess pieces being taken off the board that you thought you were going to have to account for. The interesting question I have, because I know how fans operate, who's the scapegoat? Who are people the most mad at right now in Boston for why this series went the way that it did?
It's hard because I think there's a loud vocal minority on Twitter, and so I hear that the most. Not a lot of people are thrilled with Kristaps right now. Yeah. Everyone's really mad at Kristaps. You got a lot of Joe people too by like proxy. Like, why are you playing him? Why? Like, what's the point? And I agree. Joe deserves a lot of blame. Like, there was no reason for Kristaps to be playing, especially when Luke Cornett so clearly worked, like painfully clearly. And it obviously happened in game 5, but he was good for the rest of the series too. Like, he was really good. He's been good all year. And if Kristaps doesn't have it, like, listen, man, I told you before the series started, he was getting bullied by Corey Joseph in the first round. Not gonna cut it, bro. It's just he was not only like not good, he was actively hurting the team on the court. And he's sick, right? This is not me like trying to attack Porzingis. He was useless. He could not play. And if you're sick, you gotta either recognize that yourself and take yourself out of the equation, or Joe's gotta recognize and say, bro, I gotta go somewhere else. And it didn't happen for too long. And I'm not saying he's the reason they lost games 1 and 2. They lost games 1 and 2 because they couldn't make threes, and their transition defense and offensive rebounding was terrible. And that's what happened. But like, he didn't help. he surely didn't help the series. So
they lost the coaching margin. I agree with you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Joe got outcoached. He absolutely did. There's no denying it. But I think Kristaps and Joe are probably getting the most heat right now because there's not really much, elsewhere to look. Like, I think Drew actually played all right for a lot of this playoff run. That his defense was really good. The shot left when the shot left, but I thought he did other things okay. Him and Horford, I thought, guarded Brunson really well in the first 2 games. It's just like they lost in other areas. I think Tatum got a lot of slack through the first couple games, but I mean, he was on track to have a historic game in Game 4 before he went down and before they started blowing the lead a little bit. No one's mad at Jaylen. I think Jaylen played a phenomenal series. I think he was pretty good the whole playoffs, and obviously doing so while hurt helped. Derek and Pritchard were kind of no one's talking about Derek. Derek had a really bad playoffs, like really uncharacteristically bad playoffs.
It's tough for me to fully call it a bad playoffs when games 4 and 5 he went was it 13 of 24 from 3 over that stretch. So for those 2 games, he at least was hitting his threes.
Yeah.
It was fascinating to watch Mikal Bridges just take him one-on-one in the fourth quarter of Game 4, and that become the margin that led the Knicks to victory. It's like, that's Derek White. Like, wait a minute.
He's a phenomenal defender, but he's just like, he's small. I mean, he's just a little small. He's a little thin. And so if you put him in the post and you're long enough to shoot over him, then not much he can do sometimes if he doesn't have the timing, especially in mid-range. Like, if you post him up, he can get you because he can jump to block it. But if you're a mid-range shooter and you should lean back a little bit and it's like a shot, not a post, like, you saw what happened, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think most of it, if like I had to like power rank, I would say Kristaps, Missoula, general frustration at 3. Like, yeah.
The universe at 3. Yeah.
Everyone. Yeah. New York. They're just mad at the world.
We didn't do anything. We just reacted to playoff wins, which it's Sunday morning when we're recording. I'm pretty sure they're still celebrating on 30. So you were here for game 6, right?
Yeah.
What was your perspective of outside MSG for
by the time 6? I got out there, it was like 1:30, so it wasn't quite as bad. Like it was pretty, or maybe I was on the wrong side of MSG,
but it still existed though.
Oh, there was remnants for sure.
Yeah,
there were still like traces. I wasn't there when Wendy got harassed though.
When the National Guard was called. Yeah. Goodness.
I saw something.
It was New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Eve for a night.
Imagine they make the finals. Imagine they win.
We've been saying
to be dangerous.
We have been saying that the president needs to be put on alert if the Knicks win this series, like win the finals, like because it's the end of America, end of New York City, end of one of the biggest series, one of the biggest cities, I should say. The fact that it's now within reach is pretty surreal. And listen, look, I've talked to you offline. I've never complained about a Knicks team since doing this, since doing the content thing. I haven't complained about a team more. Like this team drove us up a wall for the majority of the season. The 0-10 against top 10 team or top 3 teams was a thing. Remember, everybody? Like they're now 4-2, and one of them's eliminated. Like they might play the Thunder again, but now they're 4-2 in the playoffs when it matters. And the fact that we went through a 51 win season after how emotional last season was. And it's like, man, did I just spend all season complaining about the team that might make it to the finals, let alone win it? Is a thing that I think a lot of Knicks fans are processing right now. That, you make an all-in trade for the playoffs means you gotta live through the regular season, and then the playoffs are supposed to be a reward. And none of us, I think, thought that the reward was ever coming. We were, I think, resigned to the fact that so hopefully you get past Detroit, which was not easy, and go out in 5 to the Celtics, and at least don't go 0-14 against top 3 teams.
Yeah.
To find themselves in this spot is extremely surreal. Like it's beyond belief to an extent, but I didn't have the guys like Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and other like even Tibbs and just like I'm gaining a newfound respect for Mikal Bridges, like Cat finding his opportunities.
Scottie Pippen.
Listen, Mikal Bridges in this series, Brooklyn, have another. Like you should ask for more picks, man. Like
Celtics should give you one to give to them.
Literally. So let me get an outsider perspective as we wrap up. Like Knicks Pacers, how you feeling? Be as unbiased if you just want to say fuck the Knicks and say Pacers in 4. I do want to get your analysis. Like, where are you with the Knicks Pacers series?
It's going to be a harder series than the Celtics series, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Celtics won 61 games. They were down by 90 points the majority of the series.
Listen, I think the Pacers have done such a unique thing, right? Like I talked about this in a TikTok earlier this season, ironically, where I said Celtics should be more scared of the Pacers than the Knicks and the Cavs. Oops. But the reason I said it was, and I think it applies, is everything you know about playoff basketball. It is you slow the pace down, you double down on defense, and you focus in on giving the ball to your stars. So for the Celtics, it is give the ball to Tatum and Brown. You slow it down so those guys can get the advantages they need in the half court, and you play defense. The Knicks switched up their entire defensive scheme to stop the Celtics, doubled down on defense. They gave the ball when they needed to their stars in these big spots, even if that is Mikal Bridges mid-range spam in the fourth quarter. Like they did they went to very niche spots on offense to know where they could get buckets. And then they slowed the pace down in order to get to those spots. Brunson pick and roll. They did some cat post-ups, but a lot of just stuff with Brunson the ball in his hands. Pacers say, fuck you, we're not doing that. They said, I don't care. We're not doing any of it. We're going to run down your throat. You're going to make a basket, and we're already going to be scoring by the time Jalen Brunson is crossing half court after his finish at the rim. It doesn't matter. Defense, we'll try our ass off, but guess what? Don't care if you score because we're just going to go run and do it again. Like they have built a brand of basketball that flips everything about the playoffs on its head. And it is so sick because it works so well. Look at the Cavs. The Cavs just got cooked because they couldn't play half-court defense. And if you take Mobley and Jared Allen out of the half-court defense, they're not running. Like, I'm sorry. They just can't. You saw it for a whole thing. And so I don't know who I would pick. I think based on what we've seen, I would probably pick the Pacers, but not because I don't think the Knicks can win the series. At this point, anybody can do anything, right? Like, I think I think the Thunder are kind of meh at this point. Like they don't have a good offense. They can't score,
on their way to a game 7 right now with Denver. So I'd probably pick Pacers, but if their red hot 3-point shooting dries out like the Celtics did, that's going to be a factor. If for what it's worth, I think the Knicks can play a lot better than they did in this series too. Like they missed some open shots. They didn't get to what they needed to. I think if Cat can have a monster series, then it would be huge for them. But Miles Turner's been playing like player above too. So I just think it's going to be hard because of the stylistic change the Knicks are going to have to go through from getting beat up by the Pistons to this slow pace, grind it out, just get their offense against the Celtics to, oh my God, we're sprinting for 48 minutes. Yeah. So the way the Knicks fell apart against the Celtics transition offense in game 5 scared me a little bit about if they get past the series, what's waiting them in Indiana. The counter that I keep going back to, and this it's a styles makes fights series for me, in that I think the Knicks are more talented.
Yes.
I think the Pacers have a scheme and a style that is built to run a 7-man rotation ragged. And the Knicks are going to, we saw it. They ran a 7-man rotation in game 6.
I saw the PJ Tucker minutes.
Oh. Yeah, well, listen, I enjoyed the Precious Achua and Tyler Kolek and Ariel Hook-Porty minutes.
Did you hear dance on?
What's up? Apparently he did.
MSC, PJ Tucker.
Listen, when we get to that point, we pick a mercenary and say, like, we need you to show up. Listen, PJ Tucker, veteran presence in the locker room. Who knows if that's just like well worth the minimum contract that he got. I think the Knicks, like, I don't know who's. There's no Holiday. There's no Asar Thompson to guard Brunson. This is not a team that's going to put a wing on Cat, because they're going to put Halliburton on Josh Hart. And then if Siakam is on Cat, that means, I guess you could put Siakam on Cat and put put Turner on Anunoby. But I think they're going to want to guard like Miles Turner. They're going to want to guard Cat with Miles Turner. So Cat's actually going to get to play against the center. And maybe this is just ignorance. He has cooked every center that I've watched guard him all season. So
he cooked out Horford.
So legit, like whether it be on the perimeter or with back to the basket, he just we saw it even in game 6 when we got Porzingis on him, when he got Cornette on him. If you give him a runway against the center, yes, the defense can collapse, but he's very dynamic in getting to the rim. What happens when he gets to the rim is a completely different story, and he's going to be asking for a foul. The other team goes back.
Oh my God.
4. Yes, indeed. But this is where his ability to stretch the floor against this team should be able to be something you take advantage of. And then I go to the defensive side. You have an Anunoby to guard Siakam. You have a Mikal Bridges now to guard Halliburton. And that's the thing they were really missing last year, was a point attack option against Halliburton. Like, they turned to Deuce McBride and it worked for a game. And then by game 7, Halliburton was like, quite literally, you're too small. Like, you're just not tall enough to guard me one-on-one. But Deuce did as good a job as he could, but it wasn't effective enough to slow Halliburton down. Yeah. And it's where I'm hoping this like Eli Manning version of Mikal Bridges that has just showed up in the playoffs. Sorry to bring that example. That was unintentional. I just realized why we know Eli Manning for his clutch performances. Look, I think the talent advantage goes to the Knicks. I think the depth advantage goes to the Pacers. I'm picking Knicks in 7. I don't think this is a series that, this isn't a Knicks in 5 series to me, unless there's an injury. And I think if a team's going to get injured, it's a team that's trying to play to a pace that runs you ragged against the Pacers, who can go 10 deep, so we'll see. There is a hint of a rematch here too, where the Knicks, and this is the other part. Like, I said this at one point during the Celtics series, and it really hadn't dawned on me why it hadn't been a bigger factor to me. The Knicks don't have anybody on the injury report. This isn't a Tom Thibodeau's running the team.
You better knock on wood right now. You better
fine. They're in the conference finals. Like, they didn't have anybody on the injury report throughout the Celtics series. Like, Precious Achiuwa hurt his ankle. That was the majority of the depths to which their injury report existed, right? Is their third center got hurt, right? They don't have like anybody with a nagging injury at the moment, according to the injury report. Yes, against the Pacers and their devil magic, it could happen because every team seems to fall apart against them. But like, this is where the new trainer that they hired, Casey Smith from Dallas, is important. This is where, like, as much as Tibbs gets like criticized for the minutes during the regular season, this team is ready to play the minutes load of a playoff series. And I gotta say, like, they're now 4 wins away in a series. They have home court. The finish line for at least the first checkpoint, like the first milestone, is right there. And I'm telling you, Jack, I'm starting to think things that I was not prepared to think about this team this season. And I apologize that I'm doing it to somebody who just saw his season end at the way that it did a couple days ago.
All I'll say is, and I don't want to like get anybody hyped up on it. You know how fucking hard the picture would be with a ring on this? You don't fucking...
Oh, yes. He's doing the C171 symbol. Knicks fans listening.
I like I said, I'm rooting for whoever comes out of the Eastern Conference to win a championship. I really, really like the Pacers. I've been on the Pacers all year. I probably have a rooting interest there. I will have no complaints if the Knicks make the finals. I really like the Knicks. Josh Hart is fucking awesome. I don't like. It's hard not to gravitate towards Josh Hart. Tibbs is like so funny. Like, he walks in a press conference room and you expect him to just be like a Joe Mazzulla type, but he's like, the first press conference he had in Boston, he was like, Celtics organization is like stunning throughout, except for Scalabrine. He ruins it all. He's just dropping jokes. I'm very obviously sad that the Celtics season ended from a like, I like doing my job. I like being at games, I like covering the team. It is what it is though now. And if the Knicks make the finals, go Knicks. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. A go Knicks. I don't think I would have been strong enough to give a go Celtics. I got to be completely honest with you. So you're a better man than me, very clearly, Listen, when the Mets lost to the Dodgers last year, I did usher a go Dodgers. So I will say that I did go full. You could, I'm sure you can understand why I was rooting for the Dodgers in the World Series. Like, and there's listen, Yankee fans listening, you'd be rooting for the Red Sox if they were playing the Mets.
I know you would. I'm also glad the Dodgers won. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad Mookie. I'm glad the Dodgers won. Still, that was like, you know what it was? It was the Chiefs-Eagles World Series in baseball. We've had some shitty
options. Yeah, believe me. Now I was go Chiefs, but I was after I was go Lions, and then after I was go Commanders, and now I was like, all right, go Bills. No,
that was me too. That was me too.
I can't root for Philly. I cannot root for Philly.
I'll say this. People might not like this. I don't love New York. It's too big. It's too whatever. I'm a Boston guy. I hate Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. That's where we all have that common ground there. The great unifier. And I will say the olive branch I'll give to Yankee fans that are listening to this, because the Mets and Yankees are in the middle of the Subway Series right now. In the upper deck, I went to Mets Yankees today. In the upper deck, sitting there, or walking out, I should say. Mets just won a big game. Diaz struck out Aaron Judge to end the game. Aaron Judge 0 for 5 today, 3 strikeouts. He must have thought it was October. We're in the stairwell walking out, and like little spurts of "Let's go Mets" start coming out, and then they die. And then there's little spurts of F. Juan Soto, and then they die. And then it's like Jalen Brunson, and it's the loudest chant, and it's like, oh, the great unifier. Like,
damn right,
this city is rallying behind its basketball team.
There's no Nick Claxton.
I completely forgot that team exists. That's the college team as far as I'm concerned. Congrats on the 8th pick in the NBA draft, little brother. Jack, it is good to see you. I understand under the circumstances, it's probably bittersweet for you, but it's always good to chat. And I did enjoy your coverage throughout the playoffs and watching you over at How About Them Celtics. And look, I please tell everybody where they can find, I hate to say it, your off-season content going forward.
How About Them Celtics is the podcast. I host that with Sam LaFrance. I'm on Twitter at Jack Simone NBA. I do like TikToks and short form videos there, as well as on like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. You can go find me under the same handle, Jack Simone NBA. Listen, it sucks that the Celtics are out from a like perspective of I wish I could have covered another finals run because that was awesome. But I will say this, like if there was an outcome for the Celtics to be out, I think this is the most interesting one. If it was like the Cavs in the finals, boring. Like all I want is anybody but the Thunder. It's so boring. I wouldn't even hate the Thunder winning because at least it's a fun new young team that just happens to be really good. But all of the options left in the NBA playoffs are fun, like objectively, in my opinion. Except I hate Anthony Edwards, but at least the Timberwolves are a fun team. I just think he's an asshole. But like, so I'm in an okay space because there's fun basketball left to be watched, and I think the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be sick. I will also say I ran into the Knicks fan in line. I was getting like food up top at MSG because I got some, like I was still hungry. And he turns and he's just like, I don't know if he thought I was like a Knicks fan. I had like the media badge on, but he talked to me. He's like, this is like X amount of years since the shot. Like we could do it again. And it was just, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. It was just like full, like, oh my God, we're doing this. We're doing it. So it's very cool. And I'm very happy for you, especially in particular.
Thank you. Me and Tyler Kolek
and Tyler Kolek.
I want to, from a producer standpoint, also just emphasize for people to go check out your reels and your shorts, the TikTok, the vertical videos you've been making. They're extremely well produced and well edited.
I made one at a Starbucks in New York.
That's impressive. That's even now you're flexing
on my phone.
I will say those are the ones I'm the most proud of when I make the short or the reel that I did from like the Grand Central Station lobby while I'm waiting for the Long Island Railroad. It's like, all right, let me do this now. I have a free 35 minutes. I just need to put John's face with the score above it. Having said that, the attention to detail that you put into your shorts, people go follow him. It's the descriptions in the episode. It's obviously on the screen, as you can see. Please go check out his work and you'll be entertained, maybe even educated by some of the basketball things that you'll learn from Jack. So thank you, Jack, as always. And enjoy the off season. I hope you do. It's a very fascinating off season to cover. So do they have a pick this year?
They have two. They have 30.
They have two.
20, well, not two first. They have 28 and 32. So basically.
Oh, I forgot the second round exists. I forgot.
Hey,
the Brooklyn
second April team, it exists.
So. Oh, that's true. That's right. If you need some contracts, wherever you can find it. Hello, Tyler Kolek. Hello, Pacom.da. Thank you, Jack, as always, for joining me. And thank you to everybody for watching this edition of the Knicks Film School pregame show. Another exit interview on this playoffs. And now we transition it to the Indiana Pacers. We have Pacers content lined up for you. It's coming early on Monday morning, potentially even Sunday afternoon, evening. I'll never, you know what? Monday at midnight. That's when the first thing will drop. Whether it be John and Jeremy, I have no idea. Maybe some Caitlin Cooper content sometime on Monday. Negotiations and more specifically getting a lot of people to work out a schedule is currently in the process. So tune in. Be sure you're subscribed. If you're watching, please subscribe to the channel. We just crossed 25,000 during the Celtics series. If you're listening, please subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Really helps us get the word out. I will be back at some points to preview more of the Knicks series in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers. Again, still saying it to enforce that it is a real thing that is happening. Until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Let's go Knicks, and we'll speak with you soon. Peace.